Hey, I'm Jeff Johnson, filling in for Roland Martin. Today on NewsOne Now, protests continue to grip the country in support of Black Lives Matter movement. We have the latest. How are the protests playing out in the media, and is it fair and balanced? And obesity is killing our black women at an alarming rate. Our Fit, Live, Win guest host lost over 200 pounds. Her weight loss story is later. Plus, Johnny Gill will give us the scoop on his latest projects. All that and more coming up on NewsOne Now. Protests continue coast to coast after the disappointing grand jury decision in both Ferguson and New York. In Berkeley, California, peaceful protests were held alongside violent ones, with store windows smashed, graffiti tagged, and police cars attacked. 6 people have been arrested and 3 officers hurt. The media has shown many images of people destroying property, but little of the police response. Let's take it to my panel. Danielle Belton, Senior Digital Media Strategist at the Advancement Project, Paris Denard, GOP Communications Strategist, and Chanel Hardy, Senior Vice President for Policy and Executive Director, the National Urban League Washington Bureau. So you all, sometimes it just, why even ask if the coverage is fair and balanced? Because at the end of the day, we know what gets viewers, what sells papers, and it's sensationalism. And so how do we begin to deal with this notion of violent protesters versus nonviolent protesters, and even putting it in perspective? Chanel.
Well, to your point that sometimes it's not even worth asking the question, I think it's incumbent upon us as viewers to start to be a little bit more critical. Isn't that why we went to school? We need to make sure that we are evaluating not just one network's coverage of the issue. Twitter's great in this regard. Talking to people is great in this regard. We need to round out the coverage because it's certainly not fair and balanced. And yes, the story has been searching for violence. And so anytime there's any violence found, that becomes the focus. But I think the real story is the peaceful protest, which has been incredibly long. Well, more than 100 days is really significant. And when you think about our history of peaceful protests in this country, it's almost historic.
Well, and it is historic from the standpoint of how the protest has spread without necessarily this national organization or national leadership providing a blueprint for it. What leadership, their resolve, and their focus?
I think it points to just their level of intuitive and creativity, like the fact that they've been able to take a tool like Twitter, a tool that's for social media that people just use to communicate various things. They've turned that into a tool of activism in order for them to organize, to spread these protests nationwide. Because this is like a top-down strategy. You don't have some person sitting on high dictating to what everyone else should be doing. These are just completely democratic, organic, grassroots kind of protests where people are just communicating with one another, like, we're going to have this protest, we're going to put it on Twitter, hey, can you join us, can you be a part of it, and people finding out that way and coming together.
But part of that is still going to have to deal with what's the next.
Yeah.
So what are the policy asks? What are the reform asks? How do we begin to crystallize those out of those who are angry and frustrated, but still haven't yet gotten to that place where there's a tipping point of clarity about what's being asked for?
That's a very good point, Jeff. And back to the point that you raised, you know, they say the story is searching for the violence. The problem that we're having is that as they search for the violence, they're finding it. And I don't think that the protesters that are out there that are agitating and are causing this violence and looting and rioting are doing any service to the memory of anybody who's been deceased or to the cause that they're trying to help or aid. We could have a Selma moment, but the more violence that is portrayed in the media and is actually occurring, the less chances of that, I think, are occurring. And the other major point is there has to be some direction. Twitter is great. Your hashtag activists are wonderful, but at some point, somebody has to step up like a Dr. King, like a SNCC movement, and bring everybody together and say, this is our organized
But
vision.
Does everybody have to be together? Because
I think they do.
Well, no, wait 1 second. Because there's never been a time, even in the glorified 60s, where everyone was under the the same
Yeah,
banner.
that's true.
And so we had a SNCC, we had a CORE, we had an SCLC, we had the beginning of a Black Power movement, all because while people were fighting for the same thing, they thought there were different ways to get there. How do we fight this notion that there has to be a kumbaya moment versus a strategy moment?
Well, it's an issue of just perception. People like the idea of one big glowing figure for all of us to rally around. But the reality is there are multiple organizations who are on the ground working with young people in Ferguson, in New York. You have historic organizations like the NAACP and the Advancement Project, which I'm actually not with anymore. I'm no longer an employee of, but they're very active on the ground in Ferguson and these places, helping young people who are starting organizations like Hands Up United, to organize and learn some of the traditional grassroots organizing methods.
And can I add that I think that this goes back to your original point, Jeff. We have to reject what media is showing us. The truth is the majority of the protesters are not only peaceful, but trying to fight back against those who are actually infiltrating this movement for their own ends. The president of our St. Louis affiliate has been out there every day, and what he tells us is that there are communists, there are anarchists who have seized upon this moment for their own ends, but they are not representative of the young people who, as Danielle said, are the organic base of this organic movement. On top of that, we should also reject the thought that there has not been thought put into strategy. Yeah. There is a very clearly defined 7-point plan that has been set forth by the Ferguson youth advocates. There is a very clearly defined plan that multiple national civil rights and allied organizations have put forth, and we're already starting to see some of that start to happen.
Well, and folks who aren't there need to think strategically about the fact that there's not going to be one organization or one leader that rises from this. Really quickly before we go to break.
The question is, what is the most effective strategy? What is the most effective group? What is the most effective organizing method? I think from my standpoint, the peaceful, nonviolent stance of Dr. King back in the 60s was better than the Stokely Carmichael, the more violent, the more aggressive.
Stokely Carmichael was never violent, so let's be clear.
Well,
let's be accurate. Stokely was a student of King. And the fact that they disagreed was in methodology and terminology, but one was not violent over there. There were some violent folks, but that wasn't necessarily Stokely.
Well, when it comes to the language that is used, and when it comes to the approaches that are taken, we have to be careful and find what is the most effective policy-making body, what is the most effective method by going which to affect change.
I think it's the most effective for us. Even in the NAACP Youth and College Division Constitution, it says build an intelligent and militant youth leadership, because they understood that without militant youth, there's nobody that scares people enough to talk to senior saints. You all, we're going to be right back. There's more to come on NewsOne now. One moment is turned into a movement with millennials on the front lines, as we're talking about. Next, we're going to talk to the director of the MillionHoodies.org, Dante Berry. The journey of weight loss can be challenging, but it can be done. We're going to help you get motivated later with Fit, Live, Win. And soul singer Johnny Gill is making new music and trying to get old school R&B back on the map. Some of us need it, y'all. Plus, I want you to hear our question of the day. Will the protests have an effect on the 2015 elections? Remember them, y'all? Hit me up with your thoughts on Twitter at NewsOne Now or Jeff Nation. We'll be right back after this.
All right, listen up. Out on that field today, you will be ready for anything. And I want you to always remember, this is the greatest team you will ever be part of.
There's important work to be done. And only some able to do it. Can you make the cut?
I think everyone I knew growing up had a Lazy Boy recliner in the house. So it's funny that my family's favorite place to sit is made by Lazy Boy too. Seriously. All this. Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries. Live life comfortably.
Golden Corral, America's #1 buffet, introduces our biggest and best dinner buffet ever. For just $11.99, it's over 150 choices, including 20 premium meat and seafood selections, 20 delicious farm-fresh vegetables, and 20 non-stop Vegas-style desserts. Only at Golden Corral.
Oh, you like to think that you're immune to this stuff. Oh yeah, it's closer to the truth to say you can't get enough. You know you're gonna have to face it, you're addicted to love. Might as well face it, you're addicted to love. Might as well face it, you're addicted to love. Might as well face it, you're addicted to love.
all month long. TV One has everything you want for the holidays. Beautiful singing, sweet mistletoe, holiday spirit, and lots of family fun. All month long, celebrate holiday cheer with TV One.
Don't forget to chime in to the News One Now discussion. Hit us up on Twitter at NewsOne, also at Roland S. Martin. You can also visit us on our Facebook page and listen to us 24/7 on the web at newsone.com. Stay tuned because we have more topics you care about and more folks you want to see. As always, information is power right here on News One Now.
Walmart has top gifts like the HP Stream 11 laptop with an Intel processor for great performance.
Yeah, I'm using it to video chat with Santa.
No way.
Yeah. He's naughty.
Get the top 100 gifts at unbeatable prices or order online for free shipping by Christmas. Walmart.
Pizza place, hold please. You're holding for pizza. And wasting your life. Yes, wasting your life.
Let's go to Little Caesars and grab a hot and ready pizza.
Don't listen to your wife. Keep waiting and holding and waiting forever.
All right.
Introducing Little Caesars Hot and Ready Pretzel Crust Pizza. A large pizza with a creamy cheddar cheese sauce topped with mozzarella, pepperoni, and a 4-cheese blend, all on a buttery, salted, soft pretzel crust for just $6 at Little Caesars.
Pizza, pizza. You're driving along, having a perfectly nice day, when out of nowhere a pickup truck slams into your brand new car. 1 second, it wasn't there, and the next second, boom, you had your first accident. Now you have to make your first claim. So you talk to your insurance company, and boom, you're blindsided for a second time. They won't give you enough money to replace your brand new car. Don't those people know you're already shaken up?
Liberty Mutual's new car replacement will pay for the entire value of your car, plus depreciation. Call 1-844-227-0059. And for drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. Switch to Liberty Mutual Insurance and you could save up to $423. Call Liberty Mutual for a free quote today at 1-844-227-0059. See car insurance in a whole new light. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Black Lives Matter. That's the mantra being heard across the country, and millennials are being credited with peaceful protests nationwide. Can the call for change from our young people eventually affect policy change is the question. Joining me this morning via Skype is Dante Berry, director of MillionHoodies.org. And still with me in the studio, our panel, Danielle Belton, senior digital media strategist, and Paris Denard, GOP communications strategist, and Chanel Hardy, senior vice president for policy and executive director, National Urban League Washington Bureau. Dante, let me start with you. You have been engaged in this movement work. Million Hoodies was incredibly visible coming out of the murder of Trayvon Martin, and you all have been diligent and consistent in trying to create framework and strategy on the ground. What is all of this movement coming out of Ferguson further giving you excitement about as you see young people in and outside of your own movement actively engaged without traditional organizations?
Absolutely. I think from the start with Ferguson, and unlike Trayvon, right, you saw individual actors telling the story of what's going on. You started to see folks using social media in order to tell what's happening in Ferguson on the ground, the real-time situation. And the circumstances that affect Trayvon Martin was the fact that the media failed to adequately report on the murder of Trayvon Martin. There was criminalizing. Then in addition to that, we didn't hear about Trayvon Martin until a month and a half after George Zimmerman. So I think when we look at the situation around in Ferguson, you're seeing individual actors who are telling the story and creating in a local-to-local connection from that.
Danielle, if you can weigh in a little bit on this, because I think Dante's point is great, and the storytelling is such a huge component of this, especially when we can't always rely on mainstream media. But there's a piece where this goes beyond the storytelling to hardcore grassroots activists, and a lot of us haven't been trained, right, in grassroots activism. Why are we seeing these young people be more effective than we have in previous kind of moments that didn't turn into movements?
I think it has some of it has to do with timing. That the technology that's in our hands, like that so many of us, when you look at your iPhone, you look at your Android, and it's just a tool of pure communication, and everyone has those now. Everyone's on social media. Everyone's wired. Anyone can become, it's like backpack journalism. Anyone can become a journalist at any given moment and report on the story of their lives and what's happening in their lives and what's happening on the ground. And so the fact that you can do that right now, that level of immediacy and that level of literacy at it. These are young people who have been raised on this technology essentially and are overly familiar with it. They're experts. They're much more experts than some of the older organizers who are still kind of unfamiliar with this technology, in some cases still even kind of afraid of it, right. Very afraid of it because they're just unfamiliar with it. But they're not. They're willing to take it to its full potential and find out what you can possibly do with it. And they're not afraid of the whole, I need to control this thing completely. It's more like I just need to find like-minded people who believe the way that I do and think the way that I think and feel how I feel. And we need to find a way to communicate each other and organize around it, as opposed to this kind of like this drilled top-down method where I'm going to come and dictate to you how you should feel, how you should act, and how you should behave. This is much more organic.
Well, and with that, Dante, because I think the organic piece of this is incredibly powerful, but there's danger in it. And there's danger because when there is no institutional infrastructure, I've talked to young people who have been mobilizing from campuses. They don't know what the message points are. They'll just tell you justice and change. They don't necessarily know what they're asking for. But that doesn't take away their integrity. It doesn't take away their excitement. It doesn't take away their desire. How do we connect those really organic pieces with the hardcore movement pieces without telling people and directing people in ways they don't want to go?
Absolutely, and I think that's where having an organized front is important, right? And I think this is where you see organizations like Millennial Activists United on the ground. You see Hands Up United being formed by these local-to-local connections by individuals, and it's really important when we have an organized front, because then that builds power, but also you're able to bring more people into the arena who have very similar agendas and very similar ideas on the line, and I think that's part of reason why you see a lot of the groups that are on the ground working together with a lot of groups that have formed after Trayvon, from Million Hoodies, Virginia Defenders, Black Youth Project 100, really supporting some of these groups as well.
Paris, you're one of these traditionalists in a lot of sense, and so, but we realize in any movement there's always been multiple levels. What can the traditional organizations, what can the more conservative members of our community do to support these young people without trying to control them?
The important thing is to give them the guidance that they need to give them more structure. Like I was watching a report, and they were in New York, and they were marching, and they said, where are you going? We don't know. We're just marching. Where are you going to go? We don't know. So it's important to give them a roadmap to take their activism and take it to the next level. Utilize the technology. How do we utilize Twitter more effectively to actually affect change on the local level? A lot of the stuff coming to DC may not be your best strategy. It might be more effective to actually use a targeted communication campaign to target local elected officials, to target local civic organizations, to expand your reach outside of just the college campuses, but to start to go in these community organizations that may be, you might find partnerships with Republicans, you might find it with libertarians, you might find it with mothers. You just got to find the right communication method, utilizing these older tactics of strategy, but using the 21st century technology.
Dante, before I lose you as we go into the next break, because one of my concerns is that there are a lot of elders trying to tell young people what to do versus making themselves available. How can those that are part of these traditional organizations kind of take a step back and say, how can I listen to what you need as opposed to come and tell you what you need?
That is a great question, and I think in terms of the Al Sharptons in comparison to our generation, I think there's a generation in between that that also needs to do some pushing up and also some lifting up as well. And I say pushing up of pushing out the younger folks, and then also pushing back against some of the tension that has been friction around the younger folks and the older and some of the elders. I do think that there is definitely a friction between what is known as respectability politics. Folks on a younger age are not going to really be down for that, and are completely in a different direction. And I think a lot of the relevance that you're seeing, or irrelevance that you're seeing in different folks, is very apparent in those types of conversations.
Dante, thank you so much for joining us, you all. We're going to be right back. We're going to continue this conversation about protests popping up around the country. Plus, obesity stress takes off years on your life. One woman's lifestyle change can help you beat the bulge, too. That's on Fit, Live, Win. Jazmine Sullivan fans were shocked when she dropped out of the music industry. Now she's back. Later, we're going to find out where she's been and why. Plus, I want you to hear our question of the day, which is, will the protests right now have an effect on the 2015 elections? Hit me up with your thoughts on Twitter at NewsOne or Jeff's Nation. We're going to be right back with more of NewsOne now. It's 20 after the hour.
Santa baby, slip a sable under the tree for me. Been a good girl, Santa baby, hurry down the chimney tonight.
This week at Kmart, give the gift of Joe Boxer with up to 40% off men's and women's sleepwear. Kmart, remembers always get more.
Type 2 diabetes affects millions of us, and for many, it's a struggle to keep your A1C down. So imagine, what if there was a new class of medicine that works differently to lower blood sugar? Imagine loving your numbers. Introducing Once Daily Invokana. It's the first of a new kind of prescription medicine that's used along with diet and exercise to lower blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes. Invokana is a once-daily pill that works around the clock to help lower A1C. Here's how. The kidneys allow sugar to be absorbed back into the body. Invokana reduces the amount of sugar allowed back in and sends some sugar out through the process of urination. And while it's not for weight loss, it may help you lose some weight. Invokana can cause important side effects, including dehydration, which may cause some people to have loss of body water and salt. This may also cause you to feel dizzy, faint, lightheaded, or weak, especially when you stand up. Other side effects may include kidney problems, genital yeast infections, urinary tract infections, changes in urination, high potassium in the blood, or increases in cholesterol. Do not take Invokana if you have severe kidney problems, or are on dialysis, or if allergic to Invokana or its ingredients. Symptoms of allergic reaction may include rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. If you experience any of these symptoms, stop taking Invokana and call your doctor right away, or go to the nearest hospital. Tell your doctor about any medical conditions, medications you are taking, and if you have kidney or liver problems. Using Invokana with the sulfonylurea or insulin may increase risk of low blood sugar. It's time. Lower your blood sugar with Invokana. Imagine loving your numbers. Ask your doctor about Invokana.
Started my Camry. Went to the auction. Won a storage locker. Found an old guitar. Tracked down the previous owner. Reunited them. Hit the jackpot.
The bold new Camry. One bold choice leads to another. Toyota, let's go places.
I am Metro, because everything I do needs to be fast.
I run nationwide.
On the blazing fast 4G LTE T-Mobile network.
I pay $40, no surprises.
I am Metro, because I have to be fast, and fast wins.
Riding on that nationwide T-Mobile network.
It's not rocket science. Fast nationwide for $40, period.
It's Macy's One-Day Sale Wednesday with a Preview Day Tuesday with incredible doorbusters from 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. Like these half-carat total weight diamond earrings, now $199. Charter Club Cashmere Crew, V-neck, and turtleneck sweaters, only $59.99. Save on men's sweaters and fleece, now $19.99. Take 60% off woolen down coats from Vince Camuto, DKNY, and more. And Tools of the Trade 12-piece cookware sets, now $39.99. Macy's One-Day Sale Wednesday with a Preview Day Tuesday. Doors open at 8 a.m.
All month long, TV One has everything you want for the holidays. Beautiful singing, sweet mistletoe, holiday spirit, and lots of family fun. All month long, celebrate holiday cheer with TV One.
What we've recently seen in Ferguson, New York, Cleveland, and other places has confirmed what we already knew existed. Now that all eyes are on racial injustice, will the protests affect the 2015 elections? So on the panel, Danielle Belton, social media strategist, Paris Denard, GOP communications strategist, and Chanel Hardy, Senior Vice President for Policy and Executive Director for the National Urban League Washington Bureau. So Chanel, let me start with you. We have this conversation all the time about how this stuff leads back to politics. And we're getting people ramped up, waiting on who's going to run for president when there are over 24 cities. They're going to have mayoral elections in 2015, 3 states that are going to have gubernatorial elections, and huge implications for who will be police chiefs in many cities around the country. Will this translate from what's happening now, or will we see a fizzle?
You know, I think that there's tremendous potential. Certainly, I don't see any signs that the protesters are about to lose energy, which I think is extremely good news. But it's up to us, and by us, I mean all of the folks who engage in politics and civic engagement and voter outreach for a living, to really connect the dots for folks and make it simple. Here's who's up for election in your community, and here's how that connects to the issues that we're talking about. And let's channel that energy as the time approaches into making sure that you get the type of showing that we need. And certainly making sure that as we continue the protest, that part of the conversation starts to be about how we're going to hold people accountable for their response to this.
Do you think that we're going to begin to see even more kind of political advertising that speaks to who police chiefs are? What mayors made what choices on police chiefs? Will that be something that is going to determine who gets elected in 2015? I mean, every candidate is always looking for the leg up. Yeah. And with the spotlight on public safety and police accountability, is that something that we're going to potentially see, especially in larger cities that have more ad dollars to spend?
I think you might see some of it. When I think of, I grew up in a state that used to be a blue state that turned to a red state. I'm from Missouri. I grew up in St. Louis. And my concern is seeing in these local elections, these local municipalities, people actually using some of the footage from the protests in a negative way in order to get elected, to play on people's fears about black anger and about disappointment in surrounding these this police brutality, and twisting it into something much more devious than it actually is. That's what my real concern in 2015 is. You'll see that with some local municipalities and politicians.
But the reality too is that in a time where there is great apathy, that might be effective. But if these mobilizations continue, that just might be fuel to the fire to mobilize more folks on the other side. Paris, your thoughts?
It just depends. I think it's doubtful. You have to make sure that the people that are out protesting and mobilizing are actually going to turn up to vote. Historically, we haven't seen that trend, especially if it's not a presidential year and things of that nature. But I think the issue is they have to push out the violence, the looting, and the rioting. Every time that happens, what you just talked about is going to happen.
But you keep saying that like peaceful protesters are in control of that.
Right. That's why you need extra leadership. You have got to push out those bad actors, because the more that they come in and steal the narrative, the more dangerous it's going to be to affect change, especially political.
So the real question is controlling the narrative and controlling our own narrative.
Right.
Because there will not be a time where you can control every person. There's always going to be opportunistic forces, whether they're political operatives or whether they just knuckleheads. There are always going to be people that are looking to take advantage of a situation. But if the protesters nationally are able to better control the narrative, does that shift the level of the negative impact from those that are on the fringes?
I feel like it won't make a difference. I mean, I don't believe in respectability politics. Right. So I feel like you can have all the protesters show up in their Sunday bests and be on their mind their P's and Q's and be polite and wonderful, and there'll still be people will find a way to criticize them. People will find a way.
I agree, and I think that it's really going to be more about consistency and sticking to this message over time. The reason that we've seen things change in our history is not because the movement was perfect, but because it was ongoing. Yes. I mean, I think that that's the critical piece, is the energy. The energy allows those of us who've been working on, for example, the End Racial Profiling Act, we were talking about it earlier. It's been under debate on Capitol Hill for more than a decade. The reason that we're able to have renewed energy in a conversation about actually trying to get that done, and why the Attorney General will be releasing federal guidance on racial profiling today, is because of these protests. So they might not have had the strategy. They might not have said,
even seeing the Attorney General in Cleveland making that deal a hell of a lot sooner than it would have gotten made without that. But I think, to you all's point, there are people that are looking to criticize no matter what. I mean, and I think even the example of the St. Louis Rams players is an example of that. It was silent. They did it in their own way. They didn't even do a press conference afterwards. But there were people burning St. Louis Rams jerseys yesterday in St. Louis.
I think what has to occur is to control the narrative, but also expand the scope and expand the people who are on your side. And what I mean by that is you have to get middle America, you have to get white America, you have to get the average people.
There's a lot of white folks that are in these protests.
You have to, no, I'm not talking about just the protests, but sympathizing with the cause and and having compassion towards what's happening. And the more that you see this violence, the more it's a deterrent to people. They may be inclined to say, you know what, I see their struggle, I see what's happening, but I'm not going to get involved in this. And I think that's what happened with Selma, in my opinion. People saw, Eric Garner is a great example of this. You saw President Bush come out just recently and say, I don't see how the grand jury came to that conclusion after watching that video. The Speaker of the House said, we need to have congressional hearings. You need to expand the people that are on your team to really affect more change.
Well, and I think that's where we're beginning to see some of the messaging even move beyond Black Lives Matter to All Lives Matter. But if we don't deal with the disproportionate number of black folks that are being killed, then we continue to miss the point. Really quickly, Chanel, last point.
Yeah, that's right. And I just think that we need to make sure that we don't, first of all, lose the specificity of talking about Black lives, but also, even for us to have a response from politicians who have stayed silent requires the fact that protesters are keeping it on their radar. The fact is that police officers and law enforcement are a sacred cow, just like Second Amendment rights are a sacred cow. People aren't going to touch it unless we make them touch it. So I don't expect a miracle overnight, but I think that we're already seeing very encouraging signs.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for being with us. Still to come, NewsOne Now, TV and radio personality Courtney Hicks lost 200 pounds, and she tells us how Fit, Live, Win is next. Johnny Gill has a new solo project, and he tells us whether we'll hear about a new project from New Edition in the near future. Plus, call in and answer our question of the day that we just talked about. Will protests have an effect on the 2015 elections? Hit me up with your thoughts on Twitter @NewsOne or @JessNation, on our NewsOne Facebook page. It's 32 after the hour. Be right back.
Today we're checking out some of the top gifts that Walmart has at unbeatable prices.
And I'm going to show you how to wrap them.
First, we have the Beats Pill XL. Now that's a tough one to wrap, Melissa.
I would just wrap it like a piece of candy.
Okay, next, for the kids, this Zoomer Dino. Good luck wrapping that.
This is when a gift bag comes in handy.
Well, now, an amazing KitchenAid stand mixer. Stumped you on this one, didn't I?
Nope.
You're good.
It's a gift.
Get to Walmart for the top 100 gifts at unbeatable prices, or order online for free shipping by Christmas. More ways to Christmas joy. Walmart.
Like a lot of people, I go to work every day. I have a steady job, but I'm still on a budget. So when I needed good car insurance at a low cost, I got a quote from the General. Besides their low payments, you're also able to pick your payment due date.
Right now at the General, you can get affordable car insurance with low payments, great discounts, and a choice of payment due date. Get an anonymous online quote now. For a great low rate you can get online, go to the General and save some time.
Someday you're going to need a doctor, and somebody's going to give you a name. And on that day, the only thing you'll know for sure is that you don't know anything about that doctor, which is why nearly 1 million people a day go to healthgrades.com, the place to find out whether the name you got is really the doctor you need. On Healthgrades, you'll discover information never before available. For the first time, it tells you which doctor has deep experience with your procedure, which hospital gives you the best chance of surviving it, and whose patients were so happy with their outcome, they would choose that doctor all over again. It's information you always needed to know. You just never had a way of knowing it before. Choose your next doctor based on knowledge, not chance, at healthgrades.com. Go there now. With profiles of virtually every doctor in America, it's the place to find out whether the name you got is really the doctor you need. Healthgrades.com. How America finds a doctor.
Attention, this is a legal alert. Have you or a loved one had a Stryker hip replacement? Stryker, manufacturer of hip replacements, just announced a proposed global settlement setting aside over $1.4 billion to resolve thousands of claims involving their recalled Rejuvenate and ABG2 hip implants. In 2012, Stryker recalled its Rejuvenate and ABG2 devices due to the high number of early device failures being reported. To prevent further injuries, these devices often require corrective surgery to remove and replace the Stryker hip system. Settlement of recalled Stryker hip implant claims involves important and complicated legal rights that may affect your ability to obtain compensation. If you have a recalled Stryker hip implant and you don't have a lawyer, the time to act is now. You need to choose the right legal team that has the experience, legal talent, support staff, and resources to pursue your claim.
Urgent. Settlement registration deadline fast approaching. December 14, 2014. Call now.
Suffering from the flu is a really big deal. With aches, fever, and chills, there's no such thing as a little flu. So why treat it like it's a little cold? There's something that works differently than over-the-counter remedies. Attack the flu virus at its source with prescription Tamiflu and call your doctor right away. Tamiflu is FDA approved to treat the flu in people 2 weeks and older whose flu symptoms started within the last 2 days. Before taking Tamiflu, tell your doctor if you're pregnant, nursing, have serious health conditions, or take other medicines. If you develop an allergic reaction, a severe rash, or signs of unusual behavior, stop taking Tamiflu and call your doctor immediately. Children and adolescents in particular may be at an increased risk of seizures, confusion, or abnormal behavior. The most common side effects are mild to moderate nausea and vomiting. Ask your doctor about Tamiflu and attack the flu virus at its source.
The look of total surprise on her face said it all. Jamaican swimmer Aaliyah Atkinson made history yesterday when she became the first black woman to win a world title in the pool. She won for the 100-meter breaststroke. Her winning time was 1 minute 2.36 seconds. A very special congratulations to Sister Atkins. Congratulations. Now, as a teenager, Courtney Hicks tipped the scale at 365 pounds.
Yeah.
After almost 20 years of struggling with obesity, she's turned the corner. She now has lost a whopping 200 pounds and is here to share her weight loss journey. Courtney, how are you?
I'm good, Jeff. Thanks for having
200 pounds.
me. Over a span of 20 plus years, yeah.
So it's still 200 pounds.
I know. When I heard you talk about it at the top of the hour, I was like, who is he talking about? and I guess so. So it does sound very dramatic, but it's been a battle over 20 years that I've finally won.
Well, and it's important to say 20 years for folks, right? Because in these days and times when people have all these options of very invasive kind of ways to lose weight, there are all kinds of choices, and one of those choices is the old-fashioned way, which is what you took.
Yeah.
Why was it so important for you to do it the old-fashioned way, pound by pound by pound?
Yeah, well, initially it was bariatric surgery back in the summer of '88. I was going into my senior year, and that's when I tipped the scales at 365. And it was actually my mother, Charlotte, back home in Detroit, who, you know, your parents will go to the ends of the earth to secure their child's future, to make sure they're healthy. At least that's what she did for me. And my father kind of gave her the side eye, but she was inventive enough even back then to find this very new type of invasive surgery that was really on the cusp of bariatric surgery. It wasn't light and fluffy, and it wasn't surrounded by all of the counseling that you have and the follow-up. Went to the doctor, had a consultation, and it was a large cut. There wasn't much, what do you call that, the liposcopic procedures weren't there just yet. So it was very drastic, but it did what it was supposed to do, and it put me on that path. However, we're talking late teenage years into the 20s. So it did what it was supposed to do. It took me from 365 to 240, and then I was on my way to college, Michigan State University, and so I stayed there, and I really didn't have the maturity to then begin to allow that type of surgery to do what it was supposed to do after you lose the initial 100. So that's when I got into the complications with nutrition and anemia. And it wasn't until later on in the 30s when you start to mature a little bit and realize that this is your life and you're responsible for it, that you take the proper procedures and seek out the proper diets and lifestyle changes to, redirect,
and
your
what was the
life.
tipping point for you? What was the tipping point that said, okay, not just I know I need to do this differently, but here's how I do it?
Yeah, the tipping point for me is when I find, because the childhood, you didn't find wrappers and chicken bones in my bedroom or anything like that. I had a very happy childhood. My dad came from nothing. He wanted us to have what he didn't have and then some. So our house was the Kool-Aid house, eat, drink, and be merry. It wasn't until I lost him maybe about 10 years later, 10 years outside of that initial, what we called a gastroplasty, that I linked the eating with the emotions. And I had I had went from 240, maintained for years, and went up to 278. So it was that point during that tragedy that I made the connection that, okay, at this point, this eating is emotional. And if I make a decision to redirect, I can definitely change the course of my physical health. But it's very important to always check in with what's going on the inside, because that's the only way you're going to be truly convicted to make the changes.
And did you do that by yourself, or did you have help with that?
I would say pretty much by myself, me and my God and my spiritual values and constitution. It took a while, lots of ups and downs, because you had the 278, 365, 240, 278, 235, 215, back up to 265 by the time I had my health crisis. And again, we're talking 20 years. So. Yeah.
And so was this, because I have family and friends who are on this weight loss roller coaster. And I find that when you're surrounded by people who encourage you, the trail is a lot easier. Who was your support network? You talked a little bit about your family.
Yeah.
But did you find people that would diet with you, create healthy diet? Did you find people that would work out with you? What was the path for you to figure out how to not be on this thing by yourself?
Well, by the time I got to that point, I was really, it wasn't a lonely journey, but I really knew that it was up to me and it was about me. So it'd be me getting up at 6 in the morning before my radio show to go work out. It was me making the better choices. As far as what really triggered and what really flipped was losing a father to diabetes very suddenly. He was only 52, and not wanting to repeat some of those mistakes, not wanting to carry in that tradition of not being in the best of health to be around for, family and friends. So that was really the big trigger. And at that point, I didn't need anybody to really say, hey, Courtney, you should be doing this or you should be doing that, especially as I began to transition into TV. I didn't want the execs telling me that you had to look a particular way. These are changes that, I came to a resolution that I wanted to make for myself, because I want to live as long as possible. I have a grandmother on my mom's side. She's 88 and doing her thing, and I want to live till then and then some. So.
Well, and there's a lot of people out there, whether they want to take off 40 pounds or they want to take off 200 pounds, that are wondering, how do I do that? What would you say to the young woman who got the surgery now that you didn't know then?
Well, if you follow protocol, if you do what they say to do, now that this whole bariatric thing is a lot more sophisticated, you will and should succeed. However, it's just a tool. It's not going to do the work for you. There's still a lot of work for you to do in regards to food choices, lifestyle, how active you are as far as moving your body.
Resources you recommend for folks?
Absolutely. Wherever you start, wherever hospital or organization you start to actually look into maybe bariatric surgery, or you were just talking earlier segment how big social media is, and social media outlets and websites. All you have to do is Google weight loss, and tons of organizations and different methods of going about starting your goal will be provided for you. But the key is, like I said just a little earlier, you got to check in on the inside. You got to really check it, and whatever life struggles are showing up in whatever area of your life. For me, it was weight. It could be finances. There's a relation part of your life. There's your career part of your life. So however it's showing up, identify that and check in on the inside, because that's the only way you're going to be convicted and stick with the follow through for whatever to yield the results that you're gonna need or want to see.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
so much. R&B crooner Johnny Gill is back on the scene and in a big way, you all. He's going to give you the scoop on his new music. Plus, call in to answer our question of the day. Will protest have an effect on the 2015 elections? Hit me up with your thoughts at Jeff's Nation or at NewsOne or on our NewsOne Now Facebook page. It's 44 after the hour. We'll be right back.
Returning this January to TV One, there's a thin line.
They were like porn stars.
Between love and hate.
It was a crime scene like no other.
Fatal Attraction, brand new season, premieres Monday, January 5th at 10 on TV One.
My budget used to be a real downer, especially around the holidays. I made a list of everyone we need to get gifts for this year. But thanks to Fingerhut.com, now we can shop with low monthly payments. Over 150,000 items and growing from brands like Samsung, KitchenAid, Lego. Just click on over to Fingerhut.com for the credit you deserve to get all kinds of great gifts.
Let's wrap this one last.
With that first fall of snow, it's time for us to go and spread some fa-la-la-la. We can laugh and celebrate. We're making memories today. Come on, everybody say fa-la-la-la-la.
How do I know what to get my family for Christmas? I let them loose at Burlington. They've got hundreds of gifts, something for everyone. And best of all, I pay much less than the department stores. Now I just have to go back by myself to buy it all.
'Twas the morning of Christmas amid paper and bow that a wise, knowing mom had special gifts to bestow. She gave blizzard blue wonders and lights out in space and the gift of invention all packed in a case. This holiday, give Crayola and get creative, each sold separately.
Could Chris Rock nab an Oscar for his new film, Top 5? I'm Jazmine Sullivan with TV One's The Urban Daily Coming Attractions. Chris Rock's new film, Top 5, has everyone talking, and the big buzz is that it could nab an Oscar nomination. So, what does Rock think?
My mother's birthday. My mother turned 70 on the day of the Oscars.
Okay.
So it would be very nice to take my mother to the Oscars on her birthday.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it would.
Not for me, for her.
Rock wrote and directed the film about a comedian who now wants to be taken seriously. And the film is full of laughs, a stellar cast, and cameos.
I got married a lot of times. I should have been into the guy, as you should be into the girl.
Top 5 hits theaters December 12th. For more coming attractions, visit theurbandaily.com.
We got this one. We got Pepper. Did he help pick it out? No, he's a cat. How'd I get so big? Where am I? You were Mom's belly. How'd I get there? Wizards. Can you make it go faster? No, I already tried. Is this mine? That one's for Alice, but she doesn't know it yet. Why not? Mom says she's still cooking.
Capture your memories with Hallmark keepsake ornaments.
Uh-oh, could be trouble. If that driver is not insured, there's a whole lot of shaking going on in somebody's boots. Drive uninsured and you could lose your license, your car, even go to jail. Why chance it? You could drive legal for just $20 down with Good to Go Auto Insurance. Call or visit goodtogo.com. Get the coverage you need and proof of insurance on the spot. It's fast and easy, and the price is low because you just buy the coverage you need. The minimum. That's me. Minimum. You buy the minimum, you pay less, you pay monthly. And the next time someone asks you for your insurance card, you're good to go.
You're good to go. As little as $20 down and you're driving legal. Good to Go Auto Insurance. Call 1-800-820-4030 or visit goodtogo.com today. That's 1-800-820-4030. 1-800-820-4030.
It's birthday shout-out time. Yesterday, six-time NFL Pro Bowler Terrell Owens turned 41, and actor Jeffrey Wright, who stars in the feature film Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, turned 49. Today, basketball player Dwight Howard turns 29, and singer Chrisette Michele turns 32. Rapper Nicki Minaj is 32 as well. And on this day in history in 1987, Kirtland L. Smoke is inaugurated as the first black mayor of Baltimore, Maryland. We've got some new music projects to tell you about. My. Soul crooner Johnny Gill is coming out with a new solo project. And as Hip Hollywood's Jonathan Rabb tells us, that's not the only thing he's been working. There's a new Boys to Men album, but I think that meant to say New Edition on the horizon. Thank you so much.
Johnny Gill is preparing to release his solo album Game Changer in December, and he's holding it down for R&B.
Anything you need, I'm just here to please you, babe.
I thought that it was important to have and create a great, solid R&B album, because I felt that when I look back at what's going on with R&B and the lack of attention, respect that R&B gets, I'm just like, hey man, you know, this is where all of it started from.
To get fans ready for the album, Johnny's released a music video for his single Behind Closed Doors, starring none other than Eddie Murphy's ex, Nicole Murphy. But Nicole isn't the only one working with Johnny. Fans will be happy to know that New Edition will be making an appearance on the album.
My brothers, New Edition, we have a song on there with all of us, for me and you, and it's like just a grown folks song.
According to Johnny, this isn't the only thing New Edition has planned. After recording the song for his album, the group has decided to come out with their own project.
We're sitting around talking, goofing off, and then at the same time, it was just like we got that bug. So we were talking about now trying to get getting the New Edition project together.
And New Edition's serious about it. Johnny says he already has some songs in the works.
Well, we're actually just trying to get scheduling together now to start going in. I have about 4 songs I know that I brought to the table that the guys like, that we're going to get started on and recording. And then we want to definitely visit Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Fight Time, which is where it's all been for us, making them a part of our lives and a part of this journey as we move forward, as well as, you know, we're going to incorporate some new other people as well with some, and giving them some opportunities.
Make sure to check out Johnny's upcoming album Game Changer, which is set to be released December 9th. For Hip Hollywood and TV1, I'm Jonathan Rabb.
And another new music project comes from Jazmine Sullivan, who we haven't seen in a while. Hip Hollywood reporter Vanessa Barnett recently caught up with Jazmine to talk about her unexpected break from music and the inspiration for her latest album, Reality Show. Take a look.
I'm not scared of lions and tigers and bears, but I'm scared of...
It was the tweet that took everyone by complete surprise. In just a few short sentences, Jazmine Sullivan walked away from music. Now she's revealing that an abusive relationship was behind her decision to leave.
I felt like everything kind of just became too much at the time. I was dealing with that relationship and it was really coming to a close, but I was having trouble with ending it, and, you know, having to go and perform and smile for everybody, it all just became too much.
And because of the overwhelming feeling, Sullivan contemplated heading down a dark road. Drug use.
I just remember the feeling of feeling helpless and just, you know, feeling bad and wanting to be lifted out of that space. And just, you know, at the time, the only thing I could think of was, let me try something different.
Thankfully, she didn't, and instead returned to her first love.
I had high hopes for us, baby, like I was on dope for us, baby. Chasing after a high that I never get back again.
Forever Don't Last is her latest single, but it will be the only song on her upcoming album, Reality Show, that addresses her turbulent relationship.
I think when you hear Reality Show, you're probably going to think that it's a lot of me crying about my relationship and, you know, just going through it. But when I was writing it, I think it was better for me and more therapeutic for me to write about other things besides my relationship. So I kind of put everything into Forever Don't Last, and that's kind of the only song where I really am, you know, kind of going through it with the heartbreak and stuff. But Reality Show really is just about different aspects of reality and how I see it.
Reality Show is expected to drop at the top of 2015. For TV1 and HipHollywood.com, I'm Vanessa Barnett.
Former D.C. Mayor Marion Barry was laid to rest Saturday evening at a congressional cemetery. His burial was the final act of a 3-day-long celebration of the 16-year mayor and 16-year D.C. council member. Earlier in the week, admirers of the mayor for life attended the many memorial services being held around D.C. for Barry. Next, we want to hear from you on the question of the day. Will protests that are taking place right now affect the 2015 elections? We're dealing with all kind of mayors being elected, and all of them are choosing police chiefs. Let us know what you think. I'm Jeff Johnson, and this is NewsOne Now.
Today, we're checking out some of the top gifts that Walmart has at unbeatable prices.
And I'm going to show you how to wrap them.
First, we have the Beats Pill XL. Now, that's a tough one to wrap, Melissa.
I would just wrap it like a piece of candy.
Okay, next, for the kids, this Zoomer Dino. Good luck wrapping that.
This is when a gift bag comes in handy.
Well, now, an amazing KitchenAid stand mixer. Stumped you on this one, didn't I?
Nope.
You're good.
It's a gift.
Get to Walmart for the top 100 gifts at unbeatable prices, or order online for free shipping by Christmas. More ways to Christmas joy. Walmart.
Making the holidays special means making your cookies special. And Country Croc's fresh buttery taste and smooth creamy texture means your cookies will turn out just the way you like them. Extra soft and extra special. Welcome to Croc Country.
Returning this January to TV One, there's a thin line.
They were like porn stars.
Between love and hate.
It was a crime scene like no other.
Fatal Attraction, brand new season, premieres Monday, January 5th at 10 on TV One.
Let's take some more calls on our question of the day. Will the protests that are taking place right now have an effect on the 2015 elections? I got Willie from Texas on the line. You there?
Good morning. Yes, well, to answer your question, I think no. But I'd like to go somewhere else with it. I wish the black media would quit condemning the violent part of it, because this country was found on violence. Trayvon Martin, that guy who killed him, he didn't have a protest sign in his hand. He had a gun. Those police officers who killed that guy in California, they stood around him. They didn't have protest signs in their hand. They had guns. And we need to stop this condemning the violence part. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a blessed day.
Appreciate your comments. Got Ike from Springfield, Ohio on the line. You there?
Yes, my name is Mike.
Mike, how
Good morning, Jeff. Yes, I think the protesters will, it will have an effect on 15. The young folks are not scared. Us old folks have to get involved with them, because you can see the GOP is just going to try to deter them from voting, and with their money.
Or get them to vote for them.
Pardon me?
Or get them to vote for them.
Right, and you just seen it with Denard. So I think the protest, and it is correct, some of the violence may have to come about. We may not like it, but it may have to come about, because these young folks aren't scared. And I thank you for having me on.
Mike, thanks so much. I got Althea on the line from Buffalo, New York. Althea, you there?
Morning, Aletha. Yes, I believe the protest will bring about a positive change, because there's more information being imputed, so more people are understanding the politics of voter registration and voter suppression, comparing the two, boycotting and making sure that everyone is on the same page, that we know what we want and we set a plan out to get the action.
Thanks so much. So you all, no matter what your thoughts are, clearly we've got a number of things that need to happen. There are a number of protests that are going to continue to happen on the ground. If you're engaged in them, be engaged in them. Make sure you know why you're there. Make sure you're pushing an agenda. And no matter what you believe your ideology is, just make sure it's pushing towards an outcome that puts us in the right direction. There's so much that has to happen on the policy end, but know that in 2015 there are going to be elections, like it or not, and many of the things that we're complaining about will be reflected on the ballot. Tonight at 6 p.m., I will be interviewing President Obama on a network that I won't tell you about right now. But if you want to know about it, you can hit me at Jeff's Nation on Twitter or hit me on Facebook. You all, James, let me get you real quick before we go. You there?
Yes, I'm here. So I'll be real quick with this. Ready?
Yes.
Okay, here it is. First of all the brothers that got shot, stabbed, and run over by the police, guess what? They're all white. They went to the grand jury. Why didn't them go to trial? And here's my question of the day. What would happen if a black police officer killed a white man? How does it go that way? And all the black GOPs, the NAACP, and the Black National Caucus, they come out when all this mess happens, but I never see them do anything major. Heck, I didn't know about the National Black Caucus.
I appreciate you, sir. Appreciate your comments. You all, tomorrow on NewsOne Now, we're going to explain what exactly a grand jury in the wake of the Ferguson, what exactly a grand jury is in the wake of Ferguson and New York decisions. Plus, America's Wealth Coach shares stocking stuffers, ideas on how to give the gift of investment this Christmas. Be sure, you all, to go to newsonenow.com. I'll see y'all later. Hit me on Twitter at Jeff's Nation.